now like to introduce Kimberley Leonard up to the stage. She's been a broadcaster in many different facets, but probably most notably for her work in Sky News. What fascinates me most is that actually for Kimberley, coming here to Kenya is actually coming back home. So I'd like to welcome you up on stage and back home. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. As Matt said, yes, shags yangu ni langata hapa tu.
Jambo.
Asanteni. I love coming home. I'm from Nairobi. I was born here. I grew up here. It's such a pleasure. It's such a joy. It's so fascinating seeing the development, the job creation, the emerging, ever-growing middle class. You know, Kenya is a country with so much potential, and a lot is being realized, but there is always so much room for growth. And on that note, I would like to introduce this man here to the stage, Pierre-Frédéric Roulot. Roulot.
No, it's okay.
In 2007, Pierre joined the Louvre Group. He is now the CEO of Jin Jiang Europe, and the Louvre Hotels Group. And when he joined the Louvre Group, he brought with him 25 years of experience in the service industry. He's responsible for implementing Jin Jiang's development strategy and for helping the Louvre Group perform better and facilitating and coordinating the growth of the Louvre Group's brands in China. So please, a round of applause for Pierre as he comes up on the stage. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we're just going to sit here. Pierre does have some slides and some videos, but this is more of a chat. So, Pierre, to begin with, who is Jin Jiang? And Pierre told me a really fascinating fact. He said that in 3 years, Jin Jiang has gone from, in terms of the number of hotels they have, from 15 to number 2 in the world, right? So that is my first question to you, and obviously it sounds like it's going to be a question that's going to be asked less and less. But who is Jin Jiang, and how does the Louvre Hotel Group fit into it?
Yeah, I think Jin Jiang needs to be a little bit explained because it's a newcomer in the galaxy of the hospitality around the world. But Jin Jiang has a long experience. Jin Jiang was founded 100 years ago, and in the Chinese. It's a big conglomerate with hotels, but also travel agency, restaurant, transportation, #1 in rental car in Asia, food, and also Jin Jiang is the owner of Disneyland Resort in Asia, in China. Sorry. Mm-hmm. That's a big group, and today we, as Kimberley said, we had a big growth from 15 rank to second worldwide. We have more than 7,000 hotels, 50 brands. We are present in more than 50 countries around the world with 50 brands and with more than 750,000 rooms around the world. Of course, a little bit more in China, but more and more are going outside China.
How many of those are in China, the 750,000?
2/3 of the rooms are in Asia, and the rest are in international market outside Asia.
And in Africa?
Specifically in Europe, we are number 2 in Europe, and now, on the future, we will be also in US.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we did a lot of acquisition, but I will explain a little bit. As you could, I put on my chart that we are also a travel agent, and we have also we are the owner of online travel agency. That's a figure I could share with you. In total, in our loyalty program, we have more than 130 million users. Heavy user, monthly user. That's a lot, but always with China, it's a lot of big numbers. Our online travel agency, We Hotel, is free booking per second, 300,000 per day. That's huge. It's a big impact and also a big provider of business in our hotel. And the travel agency, traditional travel agency around China, 100 million nights booked by our travel agency in China. That's a lot, and we say that around 1/3 of the Chinese who travel around the world book with Jin Jiang Travel. That's why I could say we are a conglomerate from all the tourism chain, from hotel to online agency, restaurant, everything is included.
Okay. Okay.
Just quick words about the brands. We are from the budget segment to the luxury segment. As you could see, we have so many different brands, and we also have new concept.
Yeah, so okay, we'll get to the new concept first, but tell me where Jin Jiang is in terms of Africa.
In terms of Africa, we started only 3 years ago, and we have, for the moment, 32 hotels live, but we have a very strong pipeline, as all the big companies in the world. You know that we have 2 different targets in Africa. Of course, all the countries are very target for Jin Jiang, but more what we call one belt, one road countries is, of course, we could invest in these countries. On the other countries, we could develop hotels, but with less investment.
Okay. Okay, now we looked at a video. Pierre has a video with a robot in it. Now,
yeah,
I don't know how many of you are on Instagram, but I was telling Pierre about this Insta story that I was watching about my friend in China who opened his hotel room door, he'd asked for a bottle of water, and it was delivered by a robot. Now, it's in your video.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the video, then you can explain to us about how a robot...
Yeah, just to explain, we have a big innovation center based in Europe and in Shanghai, and we develop a new concept. And one of the last concepts we developed is this, what we call the smart hotel. It's live 2 weeks ago. In Asia, in Europe, when we do something with robot, is to save staff cost, is to eliminate some cost. In Asia, it's a little bit different. They use a smartphone on the street for everything and so on, and they ask for more services. Then we put this technology in order to avoid some boring process in the hotel, or to amplify the communication inside the staff. But in the same time, we increase the level of service, like with some guest relation, people in the hotel, more service. Then, in fact, we could position the hotel as an upgrading in terms of service. It's very interesting. The idea is not to develop this smart hotel everywhere in the world. It's more like a pick and choose, and in some market you could use for our brand, of course, you could use this recognition facial or this robot in the room. It depends on the technology and depends how you want to position the brand in the market. That is very open. This hotel is live now, and you could visit, and you will be my guest if you book in this hotel. Don't worry about that. Just a couple of words also on the acquisition. Of course, we have a big growth, organic growth, but also we acquire some interesting group, like Sarovar in India is #1 hospitality group.
That was fairly recently, wasn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Hôtel et Préférences, it was a big network in Western Europe, 150 rooms. And recently, 2 weeks ago, we signed a strong partnership, as we are the distributor of Barrière for all the hotel of Barrière. If you know a little bit France, it's one of the flagship brand in the French territory. It means that with that, we did a strong record in terms of growth. As an example, last year we opened 955 hotels net opening deducted of the termination. It means that we opened exactly 1,100 hotels last year, the record in the industry. Of course, a lot of these openings were in Asia, but 1/3 was outside Asia, specifically in Europe, and some of them in Africa.
Okay. Which hotels were in Africa?
In Africa, we are more on the Golden Tulip brand because we completely revamped the concept of Golden Tulip. It was very well known with a high awareness brand because you remember the story that Golden Tulip was linked with KLM, the airline, the Dutch airline, and we completely revamped the concept with new ideas, targeted the millennials. And Golden Tulip is our main vehicle for development in Africa for the moment, because it's like a Swiss knife. It could be on leisure, it could be on resort. The four-star segment is the more interesting segment for the moment in Africa.
Why is that? Why is the four-star segment interesting in Africa?
Is because it answers the customer demand, specifically on the corporate side, but also in a resort. I think they are looking for a good balance between security, good level of service. They want to have a reinsurance. That's why we have a strong success with this type of hotel. Mm-hmm. And we have very spectacular openings around the world. We just opened these 3 hotels, 600 rooms in China, in Shanghai again, but 600 rooms in Seoul for the Olympics, very famous building. And the last one in Agua Claras in Cuba, we have opened 5 hotels with 800 rooms in average. A big development, and it could be, this brand could be for boutique hotel, but also for big size like this one, this example.
You were with Louvre, and it was acquired by Jin Jiang.
Yes.
How did that acquisition change your development strategy for Africa in particular?
But in fact, before we were without any resources, to be clear. Louvre was a medium player, and with Jin Jiang, it changed completely my life because they gave me a lot of resources, financial resources. As an example, the 1 year after the acquisition, they gave me a credit line of 2.5 billion euro to invest. And I did a lot of renovation, and of course I acquired a lot of group around the world. But also they gave me the access to the Chinese market, and also the Chinese guests traveling outside China, and it's good for my hotel because, as you could see, with the travel agency, with the online OTA, I could provide in the hotel a lot of business. That is a real competitive edge compared before with Louvre Hotel, only a French player with 1,000 hotels, but it's nothing now in the world. Mm-hmm. You have a sort of consolidation of all the hospitality group around the world. And it's a long process.
The Chinese market is a very attractive one at the moment. When you went to Jin Jiang and said, listen, let's invest in Africa, did it work that way, or did they come to you and say, we have to invest in Africa?
No, in fact, I have started Africa before the acquisition because we have a strong link between Europe and Africa, and everybody had the feeling that Africa is the market of the future for hospitality from a long time. After Europe, you have US market, and after Asian market, and now is time for Africa. So that it will be a very sustainable growth of this market in the next years. So. Did
the Chinese agree with you on that?
You know, the Chinese, they are very strange sometimes because they believe that China is the center of the world. That's why they call their country the middle world, the world of the middle. And they are very focused on the Chinese market because it's a big market and because also they have a very strong growth the last 10 years, in average an increase of 7% in average in the GDP of this country, then they don't need to go outside China. It changed a little bit with the One Belt, One Road strategy of the Chinese government, and the Chinese government asked the Chinese player, like Jin Jiang, to go outside and to show that they could do outside to be as good as the American company in different segments. That's why Jin Jiang was a little bit elected by the government, by the Chinese government, as the new player to run with the American player in the hospitality world.
Okay, so when the Chinese tourists are on the app or talking to the travel agent, and when they're booking holidays here or they're coming here for business, what in particular are they looking for, do you think?
In fact, they are more and more demanding. At the beginning, they travel and they discover the world, like a European guy 40 years ago. But now they travel so many times, and they are rich people, and they have a lot of needs, and they want something new every time they travel. That's why they are, what I say, it's more and more demanding. And the other side, they spend a lot of money. In average, they spend 6,000 euros per stay for the family. That's 2 times more than European expenses for the same stay.
Do you have any figures? That's in Europe, right?
Yeah, it's Europe, it's the international figure,
okay.
Not only Europe.
When they come to Africa, I mean, I say Africa, it's obviously so difficult to say when you come to Africa, there's so many things to do, but what do the Chinese do when they come here?
You have the corporate business. Of course, they want to stay because they follow the idea to the government strategy in terms of to find new ways of business around the world. And for leisure business, they are interested in all the key hot locations for leisure, like, of course, Africa is so fantastic. I saw this morning that you have less visitors in Africa than in France in terms. But if you look at the potential of Africa, is 100 times more than the French market. Of course, we have some very nice places, but in Africa, there's so many everywhere that it's just a question of infrastructure, in communication, and that's why I'm really thinking that Africa will be the key market for the future. It's no doubt for everybody.
What makes you say that? Because there are a lot of positives, yes, but there are also a lot of negatives. The infrastructure does need to be developed. There are a lot of things that need to be worked on.
Yeah, but it couldn't change in one night. That's why you need to. You are waiting these changes from a long time, but you need to be a little bit patient. It will take 10 years to change completely the story of Africa as a key destination. But it's on the way, and every year you make a growth, a very significant growth. Then you have to accompany that at the level of the politic, at the level of the government with infrastructure, but also for the player at the level of the training. Because I was completely crazy about the figure this morning. 18 million of new jobs needs to be created for the growth of the economy and the population. That means that as a player, we need to invest in technology and to invest in training. We have acquired some hospitality school around the world in order also not to come with an hotel, but to come with an hotel and a training process for every people. And we have also some technology new things to help. And I can show you probably this one. We have a sort of startup innovation center. It's not the same as the one I presented before, but is to help inside the hotel. It's interesting. We implemented this new technology last year, and we are on the way to develop that everywhere in the world with a joint venture with a partnership with a company MyManu. And also is for individual relation inside the guest and the staff member, but it could be on the mice, like today. You have a ear set? Yeah, and you could receive in your own language what be said on the stage, and you could ask your question in your language, and they could answer.
This is actually what you have?
Yeah, that's interesting.
With technology, when you're going into these African markets, do you find that people are receptive to them, they're open to them?
Yeah, the question is the adequation of the technology with what it is possible in the country. It depends country by country, but I said it's easier to do it in Africa than in Europe. Because they are new country for technology sometimes, and it's easier to arrive with a new technology level instead to have to change a former technology to move to another one in European countries. That's why very often it's very easy to implement. And if you look at the language, it's fantastic. Have you seen my English? It's not so good. My Chinese is the same level. I speak a little bit Spanish and German. But if I could have this tool to do my business everywhere in the world, I would be the king of the hospitality.
Those 18 million jobs that need to be created.
Yeah.
Do you think governments, when they're looking at technology in particular, should be looking at homegrown solutions to this kind of stuff, as opposed to hotels importing their tech solutions? Do you think government should be promoting growth within within tech industries within the country, or it's just not developed enough?
I am against to have mercenaries, to have people coming from outside. I think what is important in the hotel is to be to share the root of the country. That's why it's a people business. That's why I promoted to organize this university, this education system when we arrive in the hotel in a new country, in order to accompany the development of the hospitality. Is to be local to local instead to have the big company arriving with a lot of Chinese doing the job at the hotel with a cooker, with everything like that. It's not exactly the philosophy. It's really to be local to local. We don't have a direct business in Africa for the moment, except in some countries, but we work with partners, very famous hotelier, very well known in this part of the world, with Amin Moukarzel for more, I said, the Islamic countries on the North Africa, Amici, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and Alain, who is there. More in the east and center of Africa. And we are looking at partner, it's just an advertising break. I'm looking in partner in the south, if you could see, then I'm ready to discuss with one of you at the break.
Let's go back to that 2.6 billion euro that you had to invest.
2.5, yeah.
2.5. When you were looking in particular at Africa, what made some markets more attractive than others? What was it about these countries that you thought, okay, yes or no?
It's easier for me to get an approval if it is a One Belt, One Road countries. That's it's important for the Chinese government, and it's easier for me to invest. They are not looking for the same return of investment. But I could invest in other countries in Africa. It depending on the project, and it's depending also in the story. We are not a short-term partner. We don't want to we are going fast, quick, with 1,000 hotels. Of course, you couldn't say we are lazy. But when we arrive in a country, we want to be sure that it's for life, it's for long term, to have a strong relation with the government, with local authorities, and also to have the right local partner. It's really like a wedding, a marriage, in order to be sure that we don't arrive and go back 3 years after. That's why we put hospitality. We try to arrive with a big package, and we don't play like a monopoly to have a flag in every country. We are more interesting to have a real story, a real love story sometimes with the country.
Which country in particular have you had a love story with?
I don't want to have some issue with different countries. It's the same question, same answer to my wife when she asks me this sort of thing.
Moving swiftly along.
We need to be strictly professional.
Yes.
Kimberley.
Budget travelers and four-star hotels. Let's talk about that. You said that four-star hotels is basically where you're at, right?
Sorry?
Four-star hotels.
Yeah, four-star segment.
Do you think that there is a market here for luxury hotels, for the five-star hotel, for the luxury traveler, be they from China, be they from Europe or the States?
Yes, but I think the best product for Africa, up to me, is to introduce lifestyle brand, more than between 3-star and 4-star. Very young, targeted millennials. We have this company, for example, it's typically the product I could see in Africa, because you have a young population, they want to have fun, they want to meet people, they don't want to stay in the room, they want to stay in the common places. It's a relation game between the customer, and I was, yesterday when I arrived, I was very surprised when all the guests in the hotel here, not in my hotel, with a large smile, they love to be there. There are plenty of happiness.
I found that as well.
Yeah. And I think if you play between the guest and the people who work inside the hotel, you could create an atmosphere. And remember, the memory in the guest is not the size of the room, is not the comfort, is not the service, is the moment of happiness he could have, of new things he could discover.
Do you think they should be looking more to, we have more time, they've given us more time.
Okay. Great.
I'm not that bad company, come on, Pierre. Okay, do you think that they should be looking to domestic markets? I mean, how strong is domestic tourism within Africa?
I'll come back to your question. When you are in luxury, when you have a luxury hotel, it's more for international guests. If you are a lifestyle segment, 3-star, 3-star plus, etc., you are targeting international but more domestic young generation. That's why I answer to your question. It's really this target, the most important target now in the hospitality business, and the most profitable for owner.
Okay, let's go back to training. I was talking to one of your colleagues there, and we were talking about how a lot of Kenyans in particular go and work in Dubai. And he was saying that he worked for one group there. He had 3 months in-house training before he even went anywhere, on the shop floor, as it were. So if you were talking to a young Kenyan who is looking at the positive attitude at this conference and thinking, I really want to get into the hotel industry, how would you go about doing that?
It's a big question. It's a difficult question because each group is organized differently, and each country is organized differently. I just want to, it's not exactly the answer, but it's a way to answer in a way. We are very in favor of what we call a talent exchange program inside the group. In fact, it consists in a young guy could a young woman, when she arrived in the group, she could have different experience around the world, but it's not like you have to propose your CV and that's all. It's more like an institution, and it's really organized in order to be sure that it works and create like the fidelity of the people to the brand or to the group. It works very well, and then we have a lot of satisfaction coming from this program. It's a cost, but it's not on the hotel P&L, it's at our level, because we think we need to, again, to prepare the future, and to prepare the future is with this type of people.
Mm-hmm. Okay, my final question is, where are you going to go in the future in Africa? 4-star now, you say you like to stay there for life when you come into a country. So where do you see the group going in the future in Africa?
I think we are at the beginning of the development for our group in Africa. Then we have plenty of destinations. We need to be on the south of Africa, because for the moment we have no hotel. If you want to be a worldwide player, you need to be in the big city or in the cities, medium cities everywhere in Africa. It's not a question to have one hotel in Nairobi, or that's all. You need to be everywhere. That's why it takes a long time, and the next destination really be South Africa for us.
Okay, so South Africa.
Yeah,
okay.
Southern Africa.
Pierre-Frédéric, thank you so
Kimberley,
much.
you are so kind.
You are so kind. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Okay. Thank you.